Hello everyone. I started working on your critical theory folder and wanted to give you a very brief overview of how you might begin to apply a critical theory to a work of literature. So my background in my graduate studies was in feminism, and that is the lens or critical theory / approach that I have the most experience with and am probably personally the most interested in. So I'm going to use the critical theory approach of feminism to start talking through Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants, which is a piece of short fiction that you read at the beginning of our summer term together. So Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway is, we know, a story of a man and a woman discussing whether or not she should have an abortion. And right there, you already have a male-female power dynamic. You have a woman who seems to be trying to appease the man that she's with, and the man trying to coax the woman into going through with the abortion so that their lives can be the same, because he enjoys their lives as they are now. And as I start to look through the text, I would begin to look for ways that I could expose various truths. Remember that one of the purposes of feminism is to expose the imbalance of power that men have over women in literature and in society. It's looking for how women and men are depicted in literature and how we can somewhat upset those socially constructed notions of gender and power. One thing that I notice as I begin to look at this particular piece is the amount of questions that are in the dialogue. One component that we often hear addressed to women in our current culture is that women are less assertive than men. And this is a concept. It's not necessarily a true statement, but there's a notion that women are less assertive or have been trained to be less assertive. So one of the things that I started to see as I just scanned through this very first page of this short story is the number of questions in the story and the number of times that the woman is asking the questions of the man. He does ask a few, but most of his statements are assertions. Hers are questions, indicating that she is uncertain or that she is letting him lead the discussion and she is asking for his input before she gives hers. So that's one thing I might pick up on. The other thing I note is the fact that the story references the girl and the story references the man. So we know girl as a label is meant to denote someone who's young, someone who is not an adult female, an adult woman. Although she's old enough, obviously, here to be having a drink, involved with a man, and be pregnant. So we can hopefully assume that she's of age. So rather than calling her a girl, we would respectfully call her a woman, but the author has chosen to designate her as a girl. So that could be a sign of immaturity, or that could be a sign of, again, power imbalance. The man in the story is referred to as the man, or the American. And the man already, as an adult male, has power over the reference to the girl. So there's a power imbalance just by the way that these two characters are referred to in the story. So the American is his name, or the man, and her name, she's referred to as the girl, but she's also referred to as Jig. And I'm going to assume that Jig is a nickname, but if I think about the word jig, I think about fishing, and I think about a fishing jig, and it's something that I put on the end of my line, I throw out, and I jig it as bait. And there's almost a trivial nature to it. There's something that is to be played with, that is to be pursued, and is to be consumed. So what does that title tell us about, again, the woman and the relationship that she has with the man? We also have references to the procedure. We have this back and forth dialogue, and I would begin to pick apart how they talk to each other, what they say and what they don't say. The absences of words and specifics in this text is very revealing. So that is just me briefly talking through how I would begin to approach Hemingway's Hills Like White Elephants using a feminist literary lens. You have 8 options to pick for your critical theory. Feminism is just one of them, and you will be applying that particular lens to interpret one or more pieces of literature that we've read this term. So think about the pieces that you've connected to, that have frustrated you, that have made you laugh or made you angry. Often the pieces that I found most fun when I wrote papers like this were pieces that just really got me worked up about something, and I could use the theory to kind of exercise those demons, if you will, and better understand the approach. And the fascinating thing about critical theory is that you can take this piece of work by Hemingway and you can apply all the different theories to it, and the interpretations will all be different, and it will allow us to see the piece in an entirely new way. If we look at it from a purely gender point of view, or purely feminist point of view, or a purely psychoanalytic versus Marxist point of view, what we see changes, and it opens up for us many different ways to appreciate and understand the literature. So I hope that was helpful. I know that there are lots of YouTube videos out there in the interwebs about how to apply various critical theories. Do know that when you do your case study for these, I'm looking for your interpretation, your application of the theory, not somebody else's. So I would prefer that you not go and read a whole bunch of other papers about people analyzing this particular story through the feminist lens. I want you to be applying the theory yourself and have your own unique and interesting thoughts. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Thanks.